Ray had received an official notice congratulating him on being accepted into a deadly national competition known as the Long Walk. The entire country was preparing to watch the event unfold on live broadcast, and the prize promised far more than money. It offered fame, fortune, and a single wish granted to the last man standing. As Ray prepared to depart, his mother accompanied him on what felt like their final journey together. During their travel, the devastated state of the world became clear. Years earlier, a catastrophic war had torn the nation apart, leaving cities shattered and families struggling to survive. For many citizens, the Long Walk had become the only chance to escape poverty, yet only 50 young men were selected each year. Terrified of losing her son, Ray's mother begged him to reconsider. But Ray insisted that he had to go through with it. When they reached the departure point, she held him tightly, and he promised he would return before walking away. Soon afterward, Ray met another contestant named Peter McVrees. The two formed a quick bond and joined the other walkers, Hank, Baker, Stebbins, and the youngest among them, Curly. Eventually, the mastermind behind the event, known only as the Major, arrived to begin the official process. He stepped forward, calling out the contestants' names one by one as each boy accepted a metal tag and returned to his place in line. Once all 50 were accounted for, the Major addressed them, stating that the country had never fully healed from the war. Towns remained broken, industries unstable, and the people restless. According to him, the true sickness of the nation was not poverty but laziness, and the Long Walk existed to remind everyone that discipline and endurance were the keys to survival. He then laid out the rules. Each participant had to maintain a minimum pace of 3 miles per hour. A slowdown earned 1 warning, a second slip earned another, and a third meant serious danger. If the walker failed again, he would be permanently removed. There was no finish line, no stopping point, and only one survivor. With that, the Major fired a pistol into the air, officially beginning the walk. The boys moved forward as military trucks filled with armed soldiers followed behind them. Ray commented on the empty landscape, and a competitor named Barkovich explained that the Major forbade crowds until later in the event, though locals could watch from roadside homes. Cameras, however, were everywhere, recording every step for the audience at home. By the 7th mile, the boys began discussing the prize. Baker admitted he cared only about the money. Ray argued that winning meant more than wealth. Shortly after, a contestant named Harkness appeared, recording everyone's names and numbers in a notebook. He explained that he was writing a book about the walk, one that would make him famous if he survived. Peter pointed out that anyone who won would be remembered regardless. Meanwhile, young Curly began stumbling in agony. Ray caught him and tried to keep him upright. Peter offered encouragement, but Curly soon collapsed. After failing to rise despite receiving 3 warnings, a soldier approached and executed him. The brutal sight horrified Ray so much that he slowed down and earned a warning himself until Peter dragged him forward. The Major announced Curly's death and reminded the others that more were certain to follow. At the 17-mile mark, Ray admitted his exhaustion to Peter, who advised him to focus on surviving each moment instead of the entire journey. As the hours stretched on, Ray, Peter, Hank, and Baker grew closer. However, the heat later overwhelmed contestant number 1, sending him into a seizure. While some walkers worried, Barkovich mocked the boy. When the boy failed to recover from his warnings, he was executed. Barkovich shockingly celebrated, boasting that every death improved his odds. By the 25-mile mark, Barkovich turned his cruelty toward a boy named Rank, insulting him and provoking him into attacking. Rank missed, fell, and was unable to stand before the warnings ran out. He was executed on the road. Ray and Peter accused Barkovich of causing Rank's death, though he insisted he never touched the boy. Later, another contestant slowed down to relieve himself and was shot in humiliation when he could not continue. Night fell, and the boys pushed forward on sheer willpower. Ray drifted into sleep, dreaming of his mother until Peter shook him awake. Ray admitted how much he missed her, and Peter gently reassured him. But exhaustion caused Ray to slow down again, earning his 2nd and then 3rd warnings. Peter explained that the only way to clear the warnings was to walk 3 straight hours without incident. Ray, breaking down under pressure, accused Peter of pretending to care and secretly wanting him eliminated. The walkers soon approached a steep hill that proved fatal for several contestants. Ray nearly collapsed, but Peter grabbed him, calming him and helping him recover. Ray apologized for lashing out, and Peter forgave him. By the next day, the group had covered 59 miles. Ray faded again and asked Peter to keep talking so he wouldn't lose focus. He eventually revealed that he wanted to win not just to live, but because he felt he had a greater purpose. At 67 miles, Hank struggled to stay upright, snapping at Peter's attempts to help. Harkness was worse off. His twisted ankle slowed him until he earned too many warnings and was executed. Ray and Peter mourned the loss, while Barkovich mocked them yet again. Peter retaliated with furious accusations. When the group reached 100 miles, the major congratulated them. Moments later, a desperate boy attempted to flee toward a building but was gunned down immediately. At 103 miles, the boys discussed their potential wishes. Baker wanted a rocket to the moon, Hank wanted 10 naked women, and Peter joked about wishing for 2 winners. Ray said he wanted to change the system, but was told that such a wish was impossible. Frustrated, the boys shouted curses at the major and the long walk. That night, heavy rain drenched them. Ray nearly collapsed from exhaustion, and Peter allowed him to rest against his shoulder while walking. By day 3, after 144 miles, Ray finally revealed his past. His father, a man who taught forbidden subjects like philosophy and music, had been executed by the major for refusing to swear loyalty to the state. Ray then admitted the real reason he joined the walk. He meant to win the prize, request a carbine rifle, and kill the major in revenge. As they reached 170 miles, the brutality escalated. One walker, completely drained, begged the soldiers for help, only to be beaten and crushed beneath a tank. Another lost his sanity, stripped naked, and wandered off before being shot. After 201 miles, Stebbins informed Ray that Hank was finished. Ray rushed to encourage him, but Hank calmly walked toward the soldiers and was executed. Baker tried to reach him, earning warnings, until Ray dragged him back into line. By 209 miles, only Ray, Peter, Barkovich, Stebbins, Baker, and Parker remained. They discussed how Hank was the only one with a wife waiting for him and agreed that the winner must help support her. None of them asked Barkovich to contribute, isolating him. Feeling excluded, Barkovich confessed to Ray that he felt haunted by guilt for Rank's death and asked to rejoin the group. Ray accepted him, but Barkovich soon spiraled into madness and suddenly stabbed himself in the throat. Soldiers finished him off as the others were forced to keep walking. That night, the remaining boys sang together to lift their spirits. By day 5, they had reached 278 miles and approached Ray's hometown. Parker remarked that Ray was lucky to see his mother, but Peter insisted it was a curse, as it would weaken him emotionally. At 286 miles, Ray's boot split. Baker advised him to remove both shoes to avoid imbalance. As they entered Ray's hometown, Ray spotted his mother in the crowd. Overcome with emotion, he ran to her, earning multiple warnings as she begged him to flee. The soldiers prepared to fire until Peter yanked Ray back into formation, saving his life. Afterward, Peter finally shared his own history. Orphaned by the war, abused by an uncle, then hardened by life on the streets, he had vowed to always seek light despite the darkness around him. He revealed that if he won, he wanted to use the prize to help other orphaned children. By 306 miles, Stebbins warned that no one could help each other anymore. They agreed reluctantly. Soon, Baker's nose began bleeding, but no one intervened. Parker then snapped, grabbing a soldier's rifle and killing him before taking his own life. That evening, Baker's condition worsened and Ray and Peter broke their pact by helping him. Baker gave them a locket for his grandmother and begged them not to look back when he died. Soon after, he collapsed and was executed. By 326 miles, only Ray, Peter, and Stebbins remained. While crossing a long bridge under the major's watch, Ray shouted at the major in rage. The major smirked, claiming that such fury was exactly what he wanted in a winner. Stebbins then revealed his secret. He was the major's illegitimate son, and his wish had been to live in his father's house. Accepting that his body was failing, he told Ray and Peter that it had been an honor to walk beside them. Moments later, he stopped and was executed. Now only Ray and Peter were left. As rain poured down, they marched side by side. Peter admitted that he had once feared death, but had come to accept it as the only certainty in life. At 331 miles, cheering crowds awaited the final showdown. Peter suddenly stopped and told Ray that he wanted to surrender so Ray could return to his mother. Ray refused and urged Peter to keep walking, promising they would continue together. But Peter did not realize that Ray had stopped behind him. With 3 warnings already against him, Ray was immediately executed. The major delivered the final shot personally. When Peter realized Ray had sacrificed himself, he collapsed in grief as the crowd screamed in celebration. The major approached, congratulated Peter, and asked for his wish. Fighting back tears, Peter requested a soldier's carbine, claiming he wanted to pass it down to his future children as a symbol. Despite some hesitation, the major ordered the soldiers to give it to him, insisting that Peter would never hurt anyone. The moment Peter gripped the rifle, he raised it and pointed it at the major. The old man tried to calm him, urging him not to waste his victory. But Peter, trembling with grief, answered that the shot was for Ray and pulled the trigger, killing the major instantly. He then dropped the rifle and walked alone down the rain-soaked road. Thank you for watching. Turn on notification and also subscribe for more.